An elderly, retired couple recently lost 2.4 crore rupees. That figure represented their entire life savings, drained from their bank accounts in a matter of days. The ruthless scammers targeted this couple inside their own home in Kerala. They were deep into a quiet retirement, far removed from the worlds of high finance or corporate boardrooms. The most terrifying aspect of a financial loss this massive is the complete lack of physical evidence. No one picked their locks. No one smashed a window. No one stepped inside their home. Scammers are increasingly bypassing digital firewalls to attack a victim's perception of reality. By hacking a person's judgment instead of a server, they ensure the theft trips zero security alarms at the bank. So, how exactly do criminals successfully execute an arrest entirely over the internet? The mechanism at work here is known as a virtual arrest. As this definition highlights, it is a highly orchestrated, live-action psychological operation. The goal is to induce panic so quickly that the victim's logical defenses completely shut down. Because this prison exists entirely in the digital space, it requires no steel bars. The criminals rely on the victim's own fear and desire to comply with the law to construct the walls of the trap. The procedure always begins with a sudden, unsolicited phone call. The caller poses as a representative from a trusted everyday logistics entity, usually FedEx or Customs. The representative drops an immediate accusation. A parcel heavily loaded with illegal narcotics or forged passports has been intercepted by authorities, and the shipping manifest is tied directly to the victim's name. To prevent the victim from dismissing the call as a wrong number, the scammers anchor their lie in reality. They read off the exact digits of the victim's Aadhaar card, utilizing personal data they purchased from a completely separate earlier data breach. Pacing quickens slightly. The moment the victim hesitates, the call is rapidly transferred to a high-level authority figure. The scammers claim to be patching the victim directly through to an agent at the CBI. Hearing actual government acronyms paired with your own highly sensitive identification numbers creates immediate cognitive overload. The barrage of accurate information disables initial skepticism, leaving the victim primed for instruction. With the victim panicked, the fake officer issues their first strict demand. The victim must immediately download a video conferencing app like Skype or WhatsApp and activate their webcam. This creates visual proof of authority. The scammers are operating out of highly specific sets designed to look like active police interrogation rooms. Once the camera is on, the rules of the virtual arrest are established. The video feed must remain active 24 hours a day, and the victim is strictly forbidden from leaving the camera's frame. To ensure absolute compliance, the scammers wield a massive legal threat. They invoke the Official Secrets Act, claiming this is a classified sting operation. If the victim attempts to contact family, neighbors, or a lawyer, they will be charged with treason. Being constantly watched for hours or days induces profound exhaustion. The scammer becomes the only voice the victim is allowed to interact with. This isolation is the actual weapon of the heist. By systematically severing the victim from any external reality checks, the entire foundation of the scam is protected from scrutiny. Once the victims are utterly exhausted and terrified of going to physical prison, the scammers generously offer a solution, a fast-track method to verify their innocence. They demand that the couple transfer their entire life savings into a specialized, highly secure government account for an immediate audit. They use the imposing authority of the Reserve Bank of India to legitimize the destination. The scammers guarantee that the moment the digital forensic audit clears their names, the entire 2.4 crore will be automatically routed back to their original accounts. Believing they are complying with a federal investigation, the victims willingly execute the massive wire transfers. They empty their accounts, pressing the button themselves. Extreme psychological pressure entirely inverts human logic. Sending away a lifetime of earnings becomes the only action that feels safe. The end of the illusion is abrupt. The minute the final transfer clears the banking network, the Skype feed goes dark. The officers, the interrogation room, and investigation vanish into the ether. Compare the quiet devastation of this digital trap to how actual law enforcement operates. Real policing requires physical escorts, printed paperwork, and a local presence you can actually touch. Here is the absolute truth. Police officers will never arrest you over a Skype call. They will never invoke the Official Secrets Act to isolate you from a lawyer, and they will never demand a security deposit to verify your innocence. Because this heist relies completely on forced digital isolation, defeating it requires zero technical skill. The ultimate defense is simply hanging up the phone.